Boker Tov. Today's daf is Daf Yud Beis in Mציעא. We learn from Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael and the Sunnah about Sarah of Shivya. We're at the Mishnah on Daf Yud Beis and Aleph. Mציעא Beno Vito Aktanim. If your children, who apparently are Ktanim, meaning they're underage, under 13 for a boy, under 12 for a girl, or Mציעא Abdo, if they find an item, who does it belong to them or to the father? Or let's say something that your eved or your shifcha hakna'anim, meaning a non-Jewish or a half-Jewish slave, where you own their whole body. Well, who gets to keep that? That's yours also, right? But see, if your wife finds something, also reishalo. So if any of these people in your life, whether they're minor children or slaves that are knanim, or your wife, it belongs to you. Even with your wife, it belongs to you. Not that she doesn't have a kinyan. We have kosher kana isha kana bala, but that's really because of Ava, because that's the financial arrangement that the rabbis have instituted. It's not that she can't be kona something. A woman who's an adult can certainly be kona something. An eved or a shifra knani, they belong to you. Whatever they have absolutely belongs to you. They have no ownership of their own. Metzias ishto, a wife, could be different because she could have her own items, for example, nefse maluk, that technically belong to her. The husband's allowed to use them, etc. There are many other cases. If somebody gave her something that he doesn't own, technically an eved or a shifra also. If somebody gave it to something to them on the condition that the owner doesn't have reshus over it, that's also a possibility. But in general, if they find things while they belong to you, while the slaves belong to you, it belongs to you. The issue we're going to talk about now, Bito, is pretty obvious because that's in the Torah. The Torah says that anything, any finances that a woman has until the age of 12 and a half, even after bat mitzvah, until she's a bogeres, belong to the father. If he marries her off, he keeps the kesef, kedushin, etc. So that's min Torah. The son is more of a problem. We're going to talk about the son. If you have a minor son, does he have a kinyan in that? Is it his, or is it apparently the Mishnah says belongs to the father? Okay, that part is the part that belongs to the father. Let's say your children are adults. So if they find something that belongs to them, that seems pretty obvious, but we'll see there's another opinion in the Gemara explaining this. Shivchas, the Lashon in the Torah is really Amma Ivriya, but the same thing, Shivcha Ha'ivra, same thing as Amma Ivriya, a Jewish girl, a fully Jewish girl who was sold by her father. She can be sold up until the age of 12. Once she's 12, she goes out free. Let's say they find something, or Metzias Ishto, Shegirsha, if he divorced her, even though he hasn't given her a ksuba yet, Arayel Shalen, that belongs to them. In other words, if your children are adults, they're over the age of bar bat mitzvah, or your eved shivcha ivrim, they're fully Jewish. If they find something during their servitude, the Gemara is going to talk about different cases. Or if your wife, who's been divorced, if she finds something, she gets to keep it. Isn't that obvious? If she's divorced, she's not your wife anymore. The Gemara will explain all these, what the chiddush is in each gun. The first one, the most difficult one, is your young son. Amr Shmuel, why do you say that if the child finds something, it belongs to his father, a young boy? You know why? Because when he picks it up to give to daddy. That's what he does. When he picks it up, Marit says, he takes it to his father. And he doesn't really he doesn't tend to keep it for himself. He wants to give it to his father. He doesn't delay and keep it in his hands at all. He wants to give it to his father. So Shmuel's saying the reason in the Mishnah is that he doesn't really want to keep it. When he picks it up, he wants to give it to his father. The member of Shmuel cotton less Does that mean that a cotton cannot acquire something for himself? Lenafshe mina raisa mina Torah, is the Torah effectively saying that a child has no acquisition rights? He has no acquisition rights from the Torah. Everything that he has, it goes to his father. I have a Tanya, we learn otherwise. A socher, a poet. Let's say you hire a worker to to harvest for you. And this worker is poor. Yilket b'no achrav. His son can also, you hire the worker, but the son, if the father is poor, the son is poor, and the son is also entitled to gather up the stuff as a poor person. He's entitled to leket shekhanani, leket shekampeah. He's entitled to as a poor person. But let's say you hire the worker not as a hired hand, but rather as a sharecropper, where he gets a half or a third or a quarter, whatever the thing is. Then the father's considered an usher because he effectively has a share in the crops, has a share in the farm. And if that's the case, if the father's rich, What about the son? Lo yulka b'no achrav. The son can't gather up because the son's not a poor person. He comes from a rich family. So what is the Tanakama saying effectively? That the son is not connected to the father. The father may be rich because he's considered a landowner, but the son is not. Rashi says, whatever's remaining there. Meaning the father, this is exactly what the Tanakhama is saying, that if the father's rich, the son is not allowed to tie it because whatever the son picks up is for the father. Rabbi Yossi says either way, whether he's a hired worker or whether he is a sharecropper, meaning he's wealthy, the son can still gather up after him, because even though the father's rich, apparently the reasoning is that the son is not rich, the son is poor, meaning the son is picking it up for himself. So that's the issue. When we say over here, Shmuel says, what's the reason in the Mishnah why if a young boy picks up something, it's for his father? Because apparently he has no schia in it. He doesn't acquire it for himself. Whatever he gives, it's for his father. He has no rights in it himself. But we see over here, there's a machlokas in the case of a poel who accepted a sharecropper rights. The Tanakhama says this lo yulka b'no achrav, because if the father's rich, the kid is rich. Okay, that means that the son picks it up for the father. Rav Yossi says no. Either way, even if the father's rich, the son is not. Apparently, that means the father's rich, the son is not. The son has his own acquisition rights. Yom Shmuel Rav Yossi, and Shmuel says the halacha is like Rav Yossi. Apparently, what Rav Yossi is saying is that if the father is rich, the son is still poor, and he can acquire it for himself. So he does have acquisition rights himself. No, that's the issue. Can an 8-year-old boy have acquisition rights? Yeah.
From this brisa, you don't see whether it's a kana or a dola that's coming up.
Yeah, we're talking about cotton stam means right. So from this brisa, the brisa, when the brisa means a cotton over here, it means a small cotton. It means an underage child. We'll see another opinion in the Mishnah itself that we're not really talking about under or over bar mitzvah. But at this point, the brisa is certainly talking about his son who's underage. So, and Shmuel says, if a child, a young boy, has his own acquisition rights, Minatorah, he can malak and nafshei can malak it. I understand he's collecting for himself. His father's only getting it from him. So this way you could understand that. The way Shmuel says, Shmuel says, Rav Yossi, if the Kohen has his own rights, you could say the father's getting it from him. And therefore, the son is entitled to because the son's poor. But if a cotton cannot acquire for himself, then he's collecting it for his father. He's harvesting for his father. The father's rich, so he can't collect. No, the father's entitled to be a worker, but he's not entitled to pick up like it should pay that's meant for the poor people. If the son has his own, is an individual, has his own financial, his own bank account, his own acquisition rights, so you could say he's picking it up for himself, and then he's giving it to his father. But if you say that the son has no acquisition rights, so he's picking up for his father, he can't pick it up for his father. His father's wealthy, he's not allowed to. So why are they allowed to? So how does Rabbi Yossi say that whether the father is a hired hand or whether he's a sharecropper, the father, the parent, the wife and his kids still collect for him? So how does this work? When Shmuel says that the reason for the mission is because he picks it up for his father, he has no acquisition rights. Here Shmuel says Allah Rabbi Yossi, mashma that he has acquisition rights. Says the Gemara, Shmuel time to Tanzidan Kamar Valelo Sphere. Shmuel's just explaining our Mishnah. He really doesn't hold that way. He holds like Rabbi Yossi that a child, apparently, I'm saying apparently because we'll see the Gemara is going to change that according to Rabbi Yossi and Shmuel Pascal Rabbi Yossi, a child has his own acquisition rights. He can acquire it. And therefore his father might be rich, but he might be poor. He gives it to his father afterwards. But that's why Rabbi Yossi says that even whether he's a sharecropper or whether he's a hired worker, the son could say the son is poor. If the son is poor because he has no money, he's entitled to pick it up. But Shmuel's giving the reason of our Mishnah. He doesn't hold that way. He holds like Rabbi Yossi. He's explaining why in the Mishnah do we say Metzias Beno Bito that it goes to the father. Why is Beno? We're talking about the Beno part now. Why is the Beno go to the father. You know why? Because the Mishnah holds that the child has no acquisition rights. Shmuel himself holds like Rabbi Yossi that he does have acquisition rights, but the Mishnah doesn't hold that way. So whatever he picks up is for the father.
If you
Says
hold that he does,
yeah, that he does.
which means he can make opinion, right?
Yeah, right.
So then why does he want to talk?
So because he gives it to his father afterwards. You know, so he gives it to his father.
That's the right.
No. That's not our Mishnah. He's not that we hold like our Mishnah. He doesn't have to give it to his father. That he owns it. Okay, we're going to slug that all up. But at this point, where we're saying that the son has his own acquisition rights, then he doesn't have to give it to his father. Our Mishnah is not holding that way. Our Mishnah says that he doesn't have acquisition rights. Whatever he picks up is for his father. That doesn't hold. Rabbi Yossi would not hold like our Mishnah. But the Gemara says the Sav Rabbi Yossi caught this place chiyam et. Does Rabbi Yossi really hold that? When Rabbi Yossi says benkach or benkach, that the worker, whether he's a poor person or whether the worker is a rich person, he's a sharecropper, either way the son could pick up for him. Why? Because he's chiyam deraisa. But that doesn't make sense. Nobody could say that. But time we learn Matthias chereshet v'katan, a child, chereshet v'katan, people who don't have any, who don't have proper, brains, and they don't have the proper brains to understand things. In other words, if a chereshet v'katan finds something, it doesn't really belong to them because they don't have acquisition. They don't understand what an acquisition is. Still, you shouldn't take it from them. Why? In other words, if you steal from them, right? If you steal from somebody who doesn't own it, right? If something's in the street, you just take it. Let's say a chereshet can find something. Do they own it now? Not really. It's only darkei sholem because don't start up with the kids. They don't understand anything, so don't take away. Rav Yossi or Gezel Gomer. It's literally stealing. So, okay, that sounds like they have it d'oraisa. Rav Chisda explains Rav Yossi, Gezel Gomer b'davreim. It's only Gezel b'davreim. What's the difference? Either way, it's Rabbanan. When you say darkei sholem, darkei sholem, don't take it away from them, steal from them. The other one says, no, it's really stealing when you take from the kids. Either way, it's only Rabbanan. Nafkamina lotzi b'dayanan. The difference is that according to the Tanakhama, darkei sholem, don't take it away from them. But if you're a jerk and you took it away from the kid who picked it up, you can't go to court over it. Rabbi Yossi says you can even go to court. The Rabbanim were so makbid that the Rabbanim said it's mamish gezel. And if let's say the father or somebody in the family of the chereshet v'katan come and say, look, this guy, my kid picked it up, and this guy took it away from him, you could take it from him in court. But either way, it's only Rabbanan. It's only Rabbanan. And it's Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says gezel gomer mitavreim. The rabbi said that even though chereshet v'katan have no acquisition rights min Torah, they don't know what they're doing. Still, if they took something, don't take it away from them. It's not nice. No, it's more than darkei sholem. No, it's darkei sholem because let the kids live. Not only that, we're going to be so machmir on it, according to Rav Yossi, that that if you do take it away, the family can get it back in court. The family of the chereshet can take you to court over it. But it's still only drabanan. It's not the oraisa. How can you say that Rav Yossi says that a child has zechiyah and it has acquisition rights min Torah benkach benkach? Why? Because the kid's poor anyway. Here you see clearly everybody holds that a chereshet v'katan cannot acquire something. If they acquired something, you can't take it away from the kashalom. Rav Yossi says it's gezel gomer rabbanan. You can even go to court over the issue, but it's still only rabbanan. Elon Rabaya. So advice is like this. The truth is, everybody holds a child cannot acquire something. A 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old has no acquisition rights. He can't acquire something. And they darkei sholem, we allow him to go to the makolet and pay things and take things and buy things and sell things. And they darkei sholem, but he really has no acquisition rights. Elon Rabaya, asua kamisha. So why over here do we say that what? That the child, why does Rabbi Yossi then say that if you were hired and you're rich, you're a sharecropper, your child could still collect as a poor person? Why? Because they made a special takanovi asua kamisha holchu amushas. When's a field that was harvested? What's the rule now? After it's harvested, the anim are allowed to come and take the leket and the shikha, right? Leket, shikha, and the payah they could take even before. They could take whatever is forgotten in the field, right? Now, how long could they do it? Once the aniyim come, everybody knows, okay, you can go to Yankel's field and take everything. Once they've, so to speak, gleaned everything, they've cleaned it out. There's a few stragglers there. Those are the mushos, the stragglers. The last aniyim have finished there. Once that's the case, the place is hefker, and anybody can take it. So they made it as if Mishal Chanur says, the aniyim gufayu, Even the aniyim have given up on it. In other words, the truth is that that the child has no individual rights. And if his father is poor, technically he shouldn't be collecting stuff for the poor. But they made a special dispensation over here because the father is working in the field. Let the child collect after him, and they made it like nemushas, like as if the field has already been cleaned out. The aniyim themselves like forgot about it. Savri braid the hayach malaktile say, listen, what am I going to go? I see he's hired over there, and his own son is collecting with him. So the aniyim, so to speak, gave up on it. They were mavater. They waived their rights. It's as if the field's been cleaned out already. When the field's cleaned out already, it's like hefker. So that's what they said to Amalei Ravada Barav Master. I understand. Technically, the father's rich. The son is collecting for the father because he has no individual acquisition rights. He can't do it himself. So you say, well, if the father's collecting, his sons will collect there too because the aniyim are mavater. Why? They're only mavater because they see the son there. Are you allowed to put a lion, to crouch a lion in your field? Keep a lion over there. The aniyim will keep away. That's a nice way. I know I have to leave the stuff for the poor. I'll leave my Rottweiler or whatever. I'll leave my animals there to scare them away. You're allowed to do that? That's what he's doing. The father is not allowed to have his sons collect because the sons are only collecting for the father. The father's rich. How can you say you're allowed to do that? Because the aniyim will be mavater. They're only mavater because they see your son there. They're afraid to come. They said, oh, it's already gone. You can't do that. Elam Marava, no. The truth is that a child, everybody agrees, even Rabbi Yossi, a child has no acquisition rights. So what's going on over here? They made it like a zocha, as if the child has rights. They said he has rights to collect in the field when the father's collecting. Why? They also are waiving your rights, not because they're afraid, because they say, not do. The two, when they are hired to work, everybody wants, especially when they're harvesting, they want their whole family to. How do they do in the South? They have a lot of children in the South, so they can pick the cotton, right? So they're happy to let this guy, even as the aniyim are mavater on their rights, because they said, when we're hired, we want our kids to help us too. So therefore, we're masking that this guy, when he is hired, they can collect there too. But the truth is, the children have no individual rights, and technically, they're collecting for the father who's wealthy. But they're being mavater in this place. This whole discussion, though, that Shmuel says that the reason in our Mishnah, why does the Mishnah say that if your child finds something, he gives it to the father? Why? Because the child has no rights in it. The child has no individual rights in the property, and he's not bar mitzvah, and therefore he's collecting it for his father. This whole thing, Paliga Adrachi, this is a machlokas. This argues, this explanation differs from Rav Chia bar Abba. Rav Chia bar Abba, Amar B'Yochanan, Lo Gadol Gadol Mashman. Our Mishnah says that a gadol who's bar mitzvah, if he finds something he can keep it, isn't that obvious? Below cotton, we don't mean literally gadol and cotton, bar mitzvah or under bar mitzvah. Ella gadol v'samach al shem. If he is living at his father's house, still living at home, right? In other words, he's eating from his father's gadol v'samach al shem zeu cotton. In other words, even if he's 20 years old, but he's still eating in his father's house, he's living there. He has a loch of a cotton, meaning that he should give it to his. Sure, he could be zochel himself, but he should give it to his father. That's what the rabbi said. If he's a cotton and he doesn't live in his father's house, he's on his own. He's an 8-year-old, lives on his own. Zeu gadol, he doesn't have to give it to his father. Say it's the Rabbanan, say the Raisa, doesn't make any difference. What's the reason? Because the Rabbanan said, listen, because of good feeling. You're living in my house, you're eating in my house. If you find something, bring it to me. That's what the father would say, even if the kid's 20 years old. And if the kid's on his own, he doesn't have to give it to his father. Cotton, he gets to keep it. Again, getting to keep it could be drabanan, right? Because of Darka Shalom, but that's the point of the Mishnah, that it doesn't really mean literally cotton and gadol. According to the first Pshat, Shmuel says that what's the reason why a cotton gives it to his father? Because he doesn't acquire it. But Rav Chia bar Abba learns it. Rav Chia bar Abba learns the whole Mishnah differently. Cotton and gadol doesn't mean literally bar bat mitzvah. Cotton means he's living in his father's house. If he's living in his father's house, he should give this stuff to his father because of there shouldn't be fights. You're living in my house, you're eating, I'm paying for your rent, etc., etc. If you find something, you should give it to me. Similar things that we have by a woman in terms of her rights. Yeah.
But we have by lulav that you don't give a cut your lulav on suppose
because he can't be marketed to you. Correct. That's right. because he doesn't have.
It's not like this.
No, right, no, because there we're saying he doesn't have acquisition. Right. Even his kinyan is only drabanan. That's what we're coming out over here. Even his kinyan is only drabanan. When the rabbi said that he should give the stuff to his father if he finds it, even if he's 15 or 20 years old, he should give it because of good feeling in the house. But he doesn't really have to if he's bar mitzvah. If he's under bar mitzvah, then he doesn't really have acquisition rights. Meaning you give it to the kid. Maybe you're mocking it to him. You gave it to him, so you had acquisition rights. So you sort of gave it to him as a gift, and that works. But he can't give it back to you. He can't be mocking it to you, and that's why you don't give a cut in your lulav on the first day of Sukkot. On the other days of Sukkot, it's only drop on it anyway, and it doesn't have to be yours. On the first day, it has to be yours. On the other days, it doesn't have to be yours. Okay. Says the Gemara. Now he says like this: if you're Evet Ivri or you're Amma Ivriya, he calls it Shifchas, if you're a Jewish slave, find something, they get to keep it. Why? Even if he's a worker. If a guy's working for you, anything that he works for while he's working for me, anything that he does belongs to me. The Tanya we learn, a worker could keep stuff for himself if he finds something. We had this the other day. That's only when the workers, when he's hired either to do the weeding or the hoeing, he said, listen, weed for me, do this for me, hoe for me. So he's not working, he's only doing those specific tasks. He's not doing everything. I'm hiring you for the day. Anything I tell you to do, you do for me today. Today you're working for me today. The Baal Bais gets to keep it. So why over here do you say that if an Evet Ivri or Sheriff Kramer who's working for the boss all day, that's his job, is to work for him as whatever the waking hours are, whatever the working hours are, and I think it's more than 9 to 5, right? Those are hours, everything belongs to the Baal Bais. So several answers are given. Here we're speaking about, let's call it a diamond cutter. He makes the holes in the pearls, right? Meaning he's a very highly skilled worker, and the boss would not want him to go picking up things. He's doing very expensive work, very skilled work, so he doesn't want him to pick up things. Shane Rabba Rabba doesn't want to go pick up things. Therefore, if he takes 5 minutes out to go pick up something for him, he's really picking up himself. His boss doesn't want him to do that. What does he have to do? He'd have to pay his boss back, punch out for the 5 or 10 minutes, punch out and punch back in, and don't collect salary for that. That's what we're talking about in this case. So that's what we mean over here, when he's not really working for his boss at that time. He doesn't want to do anything else because he's doing a very highly skilled work. I'm paying you a lot of money to do high skilled work. I don't want you taking out the garbage or picking up lost items. Rav might be a Messiah, says, very simple. He didn't take away from his work. He's not cheating his boss at all. In other words, it's like listening to the radio while you're working. You're working for your boss, you're giving him an honest hour's work or honest day's work. But while you're working, you happen to pick it up. So you didn't cause your boss any loss. And therefore, you could pick it up for yourself. That's what our Mishnah means. Rav Papa says no, that the whole case that we say over there, that when you're working for anything you find, you're picking up for your boss, is specifically when the boss told you to go find things. He told him to go find, your job is to go find lost things. The agam, the swamp, or the water overflowed with fish. Sometimes the river overflowed with fish, and when it overflowed with fish, all these fish are free. So the boss told him, go take the fish. They're free, they're hefker, right? So that's what he told him. That's when the boss gets to keep it. He was hired specifically for that. So the first two answers are saying that, why does our Mishnah say he's allowed to keep it? Because this we say that he's not allowed, that he doesn't work for his that the stuff goes to the boss, is either this last case where the boss hired him specifically for finding things, or our Mishnah is speaking about where he didn't cause the boss any loss while he was working, he just happened to do that. Or you could say you're speaking by an Evet who's a diamond cutter. And the reason why he gets to keep it is because he's not working for his boss at that time, because the boss only wants him to do diamond cutting. And any time that he takes off to do something else, he wouldn't get paid for it. So the Gemara now says, "Hi, Shifra."
What's the mechanism that belongs to the boss? Well, the evidence code there.
Right.
And what, he has to be mocked?
No. So he's effectively a shliach for the
shliach.
absolutely, yeah. He doesn't inquire for himself. In other words, Here the issue is really who gets to keep it. The finders. If I hire you to collect the fish that overflowed, you're my worker. You're picking it up for me. You're my worker. It's like anything else. If I'm working for you, I have a big operation. I'm making clothes. We have a big factory over here, a big place. We're making clothes. When you make the clothes, you made a suit. Is it yours? And then you have to give it to me? No, you're working for me. You're working on my salary, on my clothes.
He's making the opinion for the
He's acquiring it for the owner, right? He's like a shliach for the owner. Exactly. He's like a shliach for the owner. The worker is like a shliach for the owner, unless the cases where he's picking it up for himself, like if he's a diamond cutter and the boss doesn't want him to do that, then he's picking it up for himself, but he wouldn't be able to take a salary while he's doing that, while he's picking that up, right? That's the same thing. Or if he's working for his boss, the middle case was he's working for his boss. While he's working for his boss, he just picks up something, so he picked that up for himself. He's not a shliach for the boss. Hi shifcha echidami. Now again, the Gemara said that whether it's an eved ivri or a shifcha ivriya or amma ivriya as we call it, they get to keep it. Now shifcha and amma ivriya is only an amma ivriya until the age of 12. The father could sell until the age of 12. At 12 she goes out. She also goes out with 6 years, but whatever, she goes out. So the question is, how does it work out that the shifcha found something and we say that she gets to keep it? If she's already bat mitzvah, we'll call that my boy gabe. She's not a shifcha anymore. She should be back in her father's house or on her own. If she's not, listen carefully. If she's not bat mitzvah yet, let's say she's 10, if the father's around, it belongs to her father. In other words, if she's not bat mitzvah yet, what we said before was Metzias Beno goes to the father, right? It should belong to the father. And if the father's no longer alive, she's 10 years old, she's working for the boss, right? For the master. But if the father's not alive, she should also be free because she should go out when the father dies, she should also go out free. Because she more in Kedushin. Amma Ivriya. She conned herself with her father dies, Mishus Adon, meaning she leaves the possession of the master when her father dies. The Kal B'chomer. He has the Kal B'chomer day, like this. Listen to this. Madach Simonim, puberty, right? Madach Simonim, right? That doesn't take her out of her father's rishus. When she's 12 years old, does the father still have rishus over her? Yes. He till 12 and a half, he accepts her kedushin, etc. He can marry her off to wherever he wants. He keeps the money. Samadach Siman, which don't take her out of the rishus of the father, take her out of the rishus of the master, because when she's 12, she goes out free. So Misa, right? Misa, which takes her out of the rishus of the father. If the father dies, do his sons inherit her? The rights in her? No, only the money and property, but not the rights in the girl. So Misa, Misa of the father, which takes her out of the rishus of the father, certainly should take her out of the rishus of the Adon, of her master. That's the Kal B'chomer that Rish Lakish dashes. Says Gemara, Gemara over there slugs it up. When she's 10 years old and her father had sold her. She was 8, her father sold her to Yankel. Now she's working, she's 10 years old, the father died, right? They let her sit Shiva. She doesn't have to sit Shiva, she's a Ketana, right? But let her sit Shiva. But does she go out free? No, she doesn't go out free. Her shlukish is up. The more over there has a whole drush. Okay, so that's not a kasha. What is she doing over here? If she's 12 years old, she's not a shifta anymore. She's not an amivriya. If she's not 10 years old, then it should go to the father. If the father's not there, we said, then she shouldn't be a shifta either. She should go out. The answer is no. The father is still there. The father's still there, but she has, or the father died. The father died, but she doesn't go out free. She doesn't go out free. So the father, the misa of the father does not make her go out free. So the father could be dead. So name him a hanamitif. So maybe it's a kasha also from our Mishnah, because our Mishnah says that if she finds something, she gets to keep it, which shows you that the misa of the father does not let her go out free. Because if she would go out free, the father must be dead, right? The father must be dead. Otherwise, the father would keep it. So why does she get to keep it? And if she's under 12, we're not talking about a girl's over 12, she's not a shifta anymore. So she's under 12. So she's under 12, she go to the father. Oh, the father's dead. So if the father's dead, why doesn't she go out free? Shows that she doesn't go out free. She's still an Amavriya. So it's a kash from our Mishnah too. It says, lo, olam di salab. Maybe the father's around. When it says over here, doesn't mean to say that she actually keeps it. Just means to say it doesn't go to the master. What she finds doesn't go to the master. Just like the Eved Ivri, we said. The Eved Ivri gets to keep his own stuff, right? If he's, let's say, 20-year-old an Eved Ivri, gets to keep his own stuff, means doesn't go to the master. But if he's taka a child, it would go to his father. So that's what we mean over here, so you can't prove anything to him. It's Ishto. So he said his wife, if his wife finds something, she gets to keep it if she's divorced. That's what the end of the Mishnah said. Metzias Ishto Shegirsha, even though he hasn't given her the ksuba yet, she gets to keep it. Isn't that obvious? Says Girsha Pshita. If he divorced her already, he has no rishus over her. Okay, he hasn't paid her the ksuba yet, but why shouldn't she keep what she found? It's a suffix if she was divorced or not. The classic case is he threw her a get, right? And it's a suffix in Rishus Rabbah. Suffix was closer to him or closer to her, wasn't within her Dalet Amas, whatever. So it's a suffix. We're not sure. What's the halacha there? The halacha is the Amrab Zeh, Rama Shmuel. Remember, it's a suffix. He still has to feed her. He's still, because we're not sure if she's divorced. Even so, even though he still has to feed her, but if she finds something, she gets to keep it. Why? Why did the rabbi say that a woman who technically has her own she can own her own business? Why did the rabbi say that if she finds something, it's given to her husband? There shouldn't be fights among them, right? They take, if she finds something, she shouldn't have a fight. The husband feels it belongs to him, so therefore she should give him. But here, where he's tried to divorce her already, there's no hope. There's no point in trying to reconcile. Says the Mishnah, let's say you find in the street. Here we're talking about Metzias as like, the next parak, Elam Metzias, but here we're still talking about things that you find. Let's say you find an IOU in the street. If it says there it's guaranteed by property, it's mortgage with property, the loba has guaranteed his property to pay off the loan. You shouldn't return it to either one. Shabezin from. Again, you don't know. Technically, you should always tear it up as soon as you pay it up, but we don't know who to return it to. But Bezin will collect based on this, and therefore, Shabezin from man. If there's no real estate written in there, there's no mortgage in there, you could return it. Ain't Bezin from man. That's the Rav Meir. Either way, you shouldn't diminish Bezin from. Bezin will collect. They'll exact payment based on this. What are you talking about? If we're talking about where the lobe is moda, that he still owes the money, so why shouldn't you return it? If the lobe is moda, I haven't paid it yet. So what if he's guaranteed it with his property, right? So why shouldn't you return it? Hamoda, if the lobe is not moda, even if there's no achrayis nechasim, so why do Rav Meir say you should return it there? They won't be able to collect from real estate, but if he has cash or movables, you should be able to collect from there. So why would you give back if he's not moda? How do you know that the malva dropped it? Maybe the lova dropped it after the malva returned it to him, after the lova paid it off and he didn't tear it up. The lova is moda that he owes the money. What's the reason over here? The rabbi said, don't return it. Maybe the shtar, listen carefully. They wrote the shtar, listen, I'm gonna borrow money. Okay, let's have the sofa write the shtar, and they signed it. That was a Nisan, and they didn't actually lend the money till Tishrei. Meanwhile, in the summer between Nisan and Tishrei, the lova sold off some property. So it looks like the shtar looks like the loan took place first. Like the creditor here has the first lien, but lien, and you should take away from the purchasers who bought it in the summer. But the truth is that the loan didn't take place till Tishrei. So the purchasers will get cheated over here because they bought it before the loan took place. That's what we're worried about. Really, he's motivated that he owes the money, but you shouldn't use the shtar because you're worried maybe you wrote it and you wrote the shtar Nisan and he didn't actually lend the money to Tishrei. And you'll come. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Very good. Good. Wait a second. You'll see. And therefore, you're going to come to collect from the purchasers illegally, right? You're going to take it away from them. Any star that comes here, how can you collect any star? Why aren't you worried? Why are you going to collect? Notice if you have a lova can't pay his loan. You're going to go after the property that he sold subsequent to the loan. How do you know that the loan took place before he sold the property? And the star comes in front. Why aren't you concerned that? The answer is kol star lo rea. Every star normally is not suspect. It does not have a reasa. Does not have a problem with it. Why? Because he has a star. He has a star. I'm collecting a star. I'm the creditor. I have an IOU. Pay me. Hani Rea. But over here, since it was left on the street, it looks like it was discarded. See, a normal star. Right. The concern is that the date was in Nisan, and he didn't actually make the loan until Tishrei 6 months later. Meanwhile, the lova sold his property to the purchaser, and you're going to cut. Now, the lien based on the time of the loan. The loan wasn't until Tishrei. The purchaser bought it in the summer. It's his when he bought it, there was no there was no other lien on it at the time, and you'd be taken away from the purchaser shlokadin. So why aren't you always worried about that? Like Irving says, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. The answer is this one was on the ground, where the assumption is that since it fell on the ground, if it was really kosher, the guy would have been more careful, he wouldn't have dropped it. We have the Mishnah says that what Mishnah Babasha says that if a lova says, "Listen, write an IOU for me. I know I want to borrow money from that guy, but he's going to say, oh, until I get somebody to write the IOU, write it for me now, even though the malva's not there." How can you write it? You're going to write the IOU right now, and he's not going to lend money until later on. It only works there. When are you allowed to write the lova? When the lova is willing to transfer the property now, before the loan took place. He writes in there, I'm transferring the property now to the malva right now. So then the purchaser who got it afterwards, there was a prior lien. He's not going to get cheated. All right, so the Gemara will pick it up from here tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, from this point, the top line, as we'll review this again. So we'll have a flow. We'll have a flow. Chodesh Tov.